Kingdom
Live.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
Yeah, when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
It's Mahomes' house. And it is good. Woo! Arrowhead man.
The Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
Oh!
Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. That means it's time for Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. While you're here, don't forget, click or tap that like, that subscribe button. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell a Chiefs fan, tell them to tell some more Chiefs fans. We'd sure help we'd appreciate the help spreading the word. We got a great show tonight. Got a little bit of a disappointing loss to talk about. We got a game coming up against a pretty good AFC opponent this Sunday in Jacksonville, Florida. Some Chiefs news we'll kick the show off with here in a minute. But, fellas, how we doing tonight? Nick?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's my wife's birthday, so happy birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
I know, yeah. So otherwise I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm looking forward to this upcoming week here. You know, disappointing way to end the party at Arrowhead during the game. You know, we dropped that one. But yeah, otherwise I'm good, man. How are you, Bo?
You know, I'm really glad we do the show on Wednesdays instead of like Monday. Oh, I've had some time to cool off, right? Just like, yeah, cut them all. We're done. Let's just torch the whole building. No,
wrap it up.
No, time to reflect, you know, like disappointing loss, but, you know, a lot of positive takes from it, or positives to take from it. Okay, that might be some of this talking. Sorry, gentlemen, had a few, but wouldn't be Chiefs Kingdom Live without it. But no, doing great. Scotty, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing pretty good. What's that shit that the locker room rant does? Happy birthday. They do that pirate song or something, whatever that shit is. Too bad our man John B's not in here right now. He could do the pirate song Happy Birthday. But yeah, no, happy birthday, Steph. Doing good. Doing real good. We the season is officially underway. Week 1 is in the books. Week 2 on the horizon here, coming up this weekend. So let's just get to this news, and then we'll break down we'll discuss the game that was at Arrowhead on Thursday night football, which was really Sunday night football, which is kind of weird, but and then we'll talk about that Jacksonville game. But the big news right now is it's over.
Thank God it's done. We got it.
There's sailors kissing their girlfriends in the streets. It's over. The Chris Jones holdout is come to an end. I don't even know if I want to say he gets a new deal.
Right?
New deal, kind of same as the old deal. I don't know how that saying goes, but
he seems happy with it. I'm okay with that.
He's not going to say, even if he's not happy with it after the way it went and sitting out at. We'll talk about the press conference he had here in a minute, but the predictions going into training camp and going into the preseason. We all were confident he was going to be there week 1. Turns out it's going to be week 2. Not sure what was gained or lost by the holdout. Just overall thoughts before we kind of talk about Chris Jones' comments on it. Bo, what do you think about this holdout?
Dude, I don't know what to think. I've had to eat humble pie about it so much. Every time I think one thing, it turns into another, right? I thought he was going to get way more than he thought or than he got. I just don't know what to make of it all, man. Like we talked about it a little bit last week. I just think he was a little bit misguided in the approach. I don't know. I feel like he has to turn up pretty big this year to get all the money he thinks he got. So that's kind of like my 30,000 foot view, but we'll get into it. Nick, how about you? How are you feeling about it?
It's important to, have good representation, right? In the words of one of my good friends, Mr. Leonard Johns, Nick, some people just ain't that good.
Right. No,
right.
Yeah. And I just feel like he got really bad advice. I think that Chris Jones is a nice dude. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a hard worker. I think he came from humble beginnings. And I think that he got some really bad advice from some people that should probably not be representing people at that level. And they made him look bad. You can argue about some of the things that happened on social media and things he said, but that kind of goes back to your representation too, right? Shouldn't your representation be saying, hey man, like, you need to chill out on social media while we're going through this? Like, maybe he did or didn't listen. We said that through the whole thing. Like, maybe he's not listening to good advice, but I feel like he got bad advice, man. I mean, like, we've got the picture here of his agents. Oh, yeah. So we got a picture of him at the game. Like, he probably was sitting there thinking, I'm going to be there to support my team, like, show solidarity with my brothers and stuff. It didn't come off that way, to the fan base, and
No.
especially since they didn't win, right? It just, it was a very weird situation, poorly handled, and I hope he gets some better reps for this upcoming contract that he has, because he is a phenomenal player, man. And I mean, I've never met him, but I've been around him, training camp and stuff, and he's a very jovial, good-natured, fun-loving type dude, from what I could tell. So, yeah.
Scott, break it down for us. Do you know the details of the contract? I heard it's like a one deal. Like, did they get rid of his second year or like next year's option to like franchise him? I don't know. Like,
No. So
what do you know about it?
Basically, he got the same deal he had for this year going into this year.
Yeah.
And he has to get like double-digit sacks, and the Chiefs have to win the Super Bowl, and he has to win Defensive Player of the Year.
He used to play like 60% of the
get
snaps,
back
right?
to where he was. There's a little bit of, I think there's like a chance that he could make some more money, but it's going to take a ton of stats, and not just personal accomplishments, but team accomplishments to get there.
Right.
Which is going to be harder to do. I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to win Defensive Player of the Year when you only played 16 games. So you got to factor that into it. I think double-digit sacks, he gets a bonus, but that was already in the original contract, was a bonus for double-digit sacks. It doesn't make any sense. I think they thought the Chiefs were going to blink, that they were going to get desperate, and they were going to think that they have to have Chris Jones for the defense.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs didn't blink. It's one of those things. When you're playing poker and you're trying to bluff and the other dude's got 4 aces, you can bluff all you want, but they got the cards and they got the leverage and with that hand. So, yeah, it was a bad game of chicken, or whatever you want to call it, on their part. So, yeah, I mean, he can make the same amount of money as he did last year, but he's going to have to play damn well to get it.
Do you know if he was there a franchise clause in there? Do you know if there was, if like he can't be franchise tagged or whatever? He still can.
Yeah, so Chiefs didn't lose that. They weren't going to give that up. There was reports going around that his new deal might include the Chiefs' inability to franchise tag him next year. And I was thinking, why would the Chiefs give that up? He was under contract and had to play this year. Plain and simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless he wanted to sit out until week 8 and lose $10 or $12 million, which he wasn't going to make up in another deal, even if he got a stellar deal in the offseason for the next 3 or 4 years, he wasn't going to get that $10 or $12 million back. So, yeah, puzzling.
What is the total number? Is it's 20 something, and then like another
19 and a half or whatever it was. Basically, the $20 million he was going to get this year, but in order to get all the other stuff, a lot of the incentives stayed the same. I don't know if that report is out there. It's true that he turned down a 2-year extension that would have guaranteed him like in the neighborhood of $75 million. If he turned that down, it was a really bad deal. Like the holdout's even worse. So, look, Chris Jones made an interesting point in his press conference. I don't know if you guys watched it or how many people watching live watched it, but he was up there and he was a little defensive with the media when they kept asking him about it and kind of pressing him on it. I think the back
he said, "I don't know," 13 or 14 times. Like,
right? Yeah, I think in the back of his mind, he knows he kind of blew it. That was the impression I got from the way he was answering the questions. He started off answering the one question about said he wouldn't do anything differently. He didn't regret anything he did. But then at the end of the very same answer, He said, I might do some things differently. Or no, he started off saying I wouldn't do anything differently. And then at the end, he said, I might do a couple things different. So he was kind of like contradicting himself.
Yeah.
I think he knows he kind of screwed up. And it was a bad look, I thought, going to the game, sitting up in the suite with your agents. There was a lot of fun. People talking about his agents looked like if Lifetime Network started making mobster movies. His agents look foolish in this. Chris looks kind of foolish. Looks like maybe he got played by the agents or had some bad advice. But I don't know. He did bring up an interesting point, though. He goes, "This is business. There's nothing personal." Brett and Coach Andy Reid and I had a text thread going the whole time, and we were laughing about memes about me and stuff. So I'm not going to hold it against the guy personally. It's frustrating as a fan knowing that they lost that game and he wasn't there. Maybe he could have made a play that maybe would have been the difference in the game. Yeah. We'll break that down here soon. So a disappointing – It just seemed to me it was like a disappointing, needless confrontation standoff that they had.
Yeah, I'm with Doug, man. The optics just didn't look good, right? Like there's something about it that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way about him being there sandwiched in between two suits. I mean, you know what I mean? If you watch Ballers by any means, you know what I mean when I just say the suits and the connotation that comes with that. But the optics for me just didn't look good. Like, hey man, you should be down there at least. You know what I mean? Be like, I don't know, like give these guys some advice. I don't know, be sitting up in a box, but I agree. It's business at the end of the day. Andy Reid even said the same thing in his press conference, right? Like, just it's business. You can't take it personal. And in this league, if you take it personal, all you're left with is just like bad juju at the end of the day. So I'm cool with both of them having that attitude. Like, hey, it's just business. It is what it is. Let's get to work though. Let's prove it. Like the proof is in the pudding. The Chiefs put it on him, right? They put it all on his plate. Be like, all right, man. We'll give you that raise, but you got to earn it. Let's see it. And dude, he's got to put it to it on this year to get all his money. So,
our man Chris, good to see you, bro. Thanks for stopping by. Saying that he's seen that his agents actually worked in waste management, trash disposal. That fits them pretty good. Yeah, Nick, you any love lost, any hard feelings towards Chris Jones over this?
No, man. I mean, it's. Like you said, it's business. He said in his press conference that he still wants to be a Chief for life. We'll see how this goes if they hold on to him or if they tag and trade him at the end of the year. You know, the Chiefs might be somewhat soured. It might also just have to do with the fact that he's going to be, turning 30 now when he signs his next contract. So,
sure.
But no, man. I mean, the guy's trying to make the most of his lottery ticket, right? I mean, he's worked really hard, but being in this position is kind of like winning the lottery, and he was just trying to do what he felt like was going to give him and his family and his children and their children, like, the best opportunity. And so I don't hold it against him. I don't think he's a bad person. It's not how I would have done it. I don't think if I was in that position, or how I'd like to think that I would handle it. But, I mean, people have done worse things, right? So
yeah, he called the Chiefs bluff, and the Chiefs weren't bluffing. Is pretty much what it boiled down to. So glad to have him back. He went for the bag, and the only bag anybody got was his agents getting teabagged by Brett Veach, basically.
He still got a bag. It might have been Brett. It might have been Brett Veach's bag, but he still got a bag.
He had already.
I mean, it's so weird when you're talking with these numbers, right? Like we kind of just like, oh yeah, a couple million or like 500,000, right? But like at the end of the day, I think he's coming out on top, man. I mean, everybody seems happy, and I think that's the deal you want to make in this position, right? Regardless of like if it is or not, everybody's happy, or they're pretending to be, and like that's what you need. I mean, with the hold in, as he kept referring it to, instead of a hold out, I just feel. Yeah, if he's happy, that's good. Let's go. Let's roll. He seems to be like he feels like he won. So let's see it out on the field now.
Yeah, they're going to need him against Jacksonville because Jacksonville looked pretty good in their Week 1 game. We'll talk about that game here in a little bit. Chris Jones was the topic of this week's CKL poll. Kind of wanted to know, we wanted to see how everybody felt about who they hold responsible or has the most blame, has the most responsibility for the holdout, Chris Jones or the agents. Nick's going to pop it up there on the screen. There it is. Who's more to blame, Chris or Chris's agents? Pretty overwhelming.
Wow.
67 to 33, doubling up the agents.
758 votes, too. This ain't like a small sample size.
Let's go.
No.
Good shit, Chiefs
awesome,
Kingdom.
man.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, appreciate everybody who voted in the poll. It's still going, actually, for probably another couple days here if you want to go on over to our X account, the app formerly known as Twitter, and vote in the poll. What was wild was all of the comments and all of the discussion around it. Everybody was blaming Chris Jones, but in the poll, his agents, obviously, Chiefs Kingdom, the people that voted in this poll blame the agents more than they blame Chris. I think that's probably a little bit natural. Fans are fans of teams and players, not agents. So,
right,
most people are probably. I mean, I expected most people to blame the agents. I thought it'd be a little bit closer though, especially with the way the comments were rolling in on this. Be interested to see what everybody in the chat thinks. Let's just go from top to bottom here. Nick, who do you blame the most, Chris or Chris's agents?
Yeah, his agents 100%. Right? I mean, his agents in this situation should be making him look as good as possible on all fronts. They should be handling things. And anytime that he's doing things that are, negatively impacting his public perception, they should have people that are smart enough to tell him, hey, don't do this, don't do that,
Right.
And so they obviously didn't do that or didn't do it well enough or didn't get the message to him, in a way that was received. So, I blame them. I feel like, he put some faith in them, and I feel like that. I think everybody feels like that faith is misplaced, especially with the outcome, right? So,
I don't know if the faith is misplaced. I agree with you completely. I just don't know if it's misplaced, right? Because like you hear it on like Pat McAfee show, ESPN, and all this stuff. They're like, we got a new era of athlete coming into this league, right? We got guys that are a little bit more business savvy. They have all these resources to draw from, ex-players, all the internet, you know what I mean? And so it's like at a certain point, these guys like just have to put their faith in those guys. They're coming from like obscurity, right? Like they're just known to like tackle so and so, right? Like they're like go kill, like little focused like job title, but like at the end of the day, right? They have to put their faith in their management, right? And especially like today's athlete, when you're like, you got to be smart about this stuff. Like, all right, you're gonna trust those people around you. Oh, these guys represent so. Those guys are all millionaires. Yeah, I'm gonna put my faith in those guys. And so, like, I do blame the agents for the hold in, because it like with any other contract that we've seen this year, we're like, what's the number? Everybody knows the number. Where does that put you in the league? And all this stuff. But with this contract, it's more like, oh, it's this range, but then he has all these incentives. So it kind of like nobody's talking about the number. And like, I feel like that was kind of like the driving point of this whole discussion. Like he wanted to be the number one guy, right? He wanted to be Aaron Donald level. He wanted to be Nick Bosa level. Ultimately, I don't even feel like he came close to that deal though, dude. Like, I mean, like you said, it's the same deal essentially with a little bit more incentives, but those incentives depend more on the team more so than him. And then if the ones that he is in control of, like he has to have a monstrous season, and he's already a game behind. So, yeah, I definitely put the cards all in the agent's hands on that one.
What I mean is he picked the wrong agents by misplaced.
Yeah, ultimately, to me, I gotta put more of the blame on CJ. I mean, he either took bad advice, which is on him, or he didn't take good advice, which is on him in the end. So I don't know if he went with these agents because maybe they're cheaper, they're not as well known. How does a guy like Chris Jones not have one of these top tier agents, right?
Yeah.
So I think he picked bad agents. Maybe they take a smaller percentage than some of these other guys. I don't know, but yeah, I'm going to put a majority of the blame on the shoulders of CJ. With that said, I mean, I'm putting it like 55-45 on Chris, because you do hire professionals and you do take their advice. But at some point, like somebody else had to have been in his ear saying, look, man, these guys, like these numbers ain't working in your favor, dog. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't a good
Just
deal
hold out a
for
little
you.
longer.
Like,
Just
this
go a
is a
little
bad
longer.
look.
You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
Yeah. So
You're the number one
somebody
guy in
at
the
some
league.
point had to have kind of tried to point out to him that he was getting some bad representation, if that was the case. Or if it was him just telling the agents, I want a new deal and I'm not going to play, then that's definitely on him. So, yeah, I think ultimately, though, in life, you're the one that's more responsible for the choices that you make, regardless of the information you're getting and who you hire and professionals, other people around you. You're the only person that's going to really look out for you. And you're the one that makes your decisions. No one makes decisions for you. So, got to put a little bit more of the blame on CJ. We'll move on. It's over.
We got him. He's there.
I don't know how
All
many
is right
days
in the
ended
world.
up being.
We're good.
He's back.
We'll see him in Jacksonville sacking Trevor Lawrence, hopefully. And then here in a couple weeks when I'm at the Bears game, I'll be wearing my Chris Jones jersey and everything will all be forgotten and forgiven at that point. So welcome back to the team. CJ, glad to have you back. The team needs you. Another
Definitely.
guy that the team needs back is Travis Kelce.
TMFK, baby.
Missed his first game since 2013, which I'm not good at math, but I can count that up. I can do that. I can do that subtraction. That's 10 years that the guy hasn't missed a game. Just a phenomenal, tough, hard-nosed guy. What do they always hear you say? The people in the league in sports always say the best ability is availability.
Definitely.
Travis is always available. If you watched or listened to the New Heights this week that came out, he was like, I just felt like an asshole not being out there for that game, man. You could tell it bothered him and it hurt him
right
that he wasn't out there. And you almost had this direct contrast of Chris Jones sitting up in the suite watching from the seats because he wants more money, and Travis Kelce on the sideline just chomping at the bit. You could tell he was pissed and he was hurting that he wasn't out there on the field playing that game. Going wild when Noah Gray had that big 25-yard completion and was breaking tackles and running dudes over. He was jumping up and down and was fired up. As fired up as I've seen Travis Kelce in a long time.
Yeah.
And that's saying something because that dude's a passionate player. He did say that he's progressing. It was a hard decision. It was a difficult conversation that him and Coach Reed and the trainer Rick Burkholder had. He said he just wasn't ready to go. We talked about this last week.
Already had a lot of swelling, dude.
Right, we talked about this last week, and I didn't realize because I hadn't heard anybody talk about this. When I was saying I thought he was going to play, I didn't realize that the swelling and that he was dealing with, that makes the muscles around it weaker, and so we actually probably would have been risking maybe further or worse injury if he would have played when he wasn't ready to go. So I was a little bit off there when we were discussing it last week.
Well, yeah, dude.
I thought he was going to play or not.
By all reports, though, right?
There was a chance that there was further or worse injury if he would have played. So definitely made the right call if that is the case to not play.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, and we don't get any of the reports. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Just trying to time it. Thought you were done. Just trying to hop in on the right time.
You're good.
No, but there was no reports that he was swelling and all this stuff. The only thing you heard was no structural damage, day-to-day decision, right? And so we're like, yeah, I mean, if it's day-to-day, I mean, at least suit up, see how you feel, right? I had no idea that they were talking about draining his knee and blood in the drainage kind of stuff like that. Those reports hadn't been out yet, so.
Yeah, and he's still pushing to play in that situation, right?
What's that?
I said, and he's still pushing to play in that situation. I mean, he's like,
yeah,
come on, man, put me out there, coach.
I'm good. I'm good. Just
coach,
a little blood in my knee. We're good.
Yeah, no. Travis Kelce's Warrior. He said he's feeling a lot better. He's questionable for the game against the Jaguars. You got to think sitting out last week and him having 10 days here or whatever it's been.
Getting those Taylor Swift knee massages.
Right. Yeah, it'll be a Tuesday to Tuesday 7 and then another 5. He's got a good 10 or 12 days since the injury to be able to play against Jacksonville on Sunday. Guys, that's a crazy side story too that he's been hanging out with Taylor Swift. I don't know how much that I believe or not, but
I want to believe it.
I want to believe more power to him.
I want to
more
believe.
power to him. Yeah, I mean, more power to him if he's doing it. But how do we feel about Travis Kelce playing this week, Bo?
10 times better than I did last week, just because when I was looking at the injury report this week, there was nobody on it. And the only injured players listed on the injury report for this week's game were Jacksonville players. So seems to be a good sign. I mean, I don't think he had a full practice, but he did. I mean, he did participate, so he didn't get a DNP on that report. So feeling good, man. I don't think he's going to be in a position to go 100%, maybe be in there all game, but get some reps, see how he feels, test the knee out. I'm hoping for the best. I'm super optimistic about it. I think he'll be in. But I've been wrong a lot this year so far. So
we all have.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just crossing my fingers at this point. Nick, how you feeling about it?
When you put yourself out there and you start making predictions and it's recorded, it's on tape, you're gonna be wrong a lot of the times. So
no big deal. So much humble pie this week. So much humble pie this week. I mean, I've been talking football. So everybody I talked to, I've just been talking football with because it's here. And it's a thing.
Yep.
And, dude, the Darius Toney thing, we'll get into it, but
yeah, we will.
I was wrong about that one. I'm owning up to it. I thought he was going to do it. He did not do it, but it is what
far
it
from
is.
it. Far from it. We'll get back here in a second.
More.
Nick, how are you feeling about Travis Kelce playing against Jacksonville on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I mean, from his comments and everything, it seems like he's feeling ready to go. So I don't have any reason to believe that he's not going to be out there on the field, man. I mean, you could tell how much it ate him up to not be there to support his team. I mean, think about it. Like, how many points do you think Travis Kelce's worth a game? It's more than one, right?
How many yards, right? In this game, like how many first downs?
Right. Yeah, so I mean, if you look at what do they call that, like EPA or whatever, expected points added for Travis Kelce in a game, it's probably a few. So I mean, that's the difference there, and he knows it. I saw that Big Doug brought up that he said he got lazy at practice. Kind of just lose focus for a second, and that's all it takes. To get hurt. So. Wish that him a speedy recovery. I hope he's not pushing it, too much. But if he's not on the report at all, that's pretty incredible, right? So,
yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about seeing him back out there, and I think he comes out fired up, has a big game. Kudos to Noah Gray and Blake Bell. Those guys came in and played.
100%.
Blake Bell scored a touchdown, and Noah Gray had some nice plays, picked up some first downs. Had a good play where he had a 25-yard reception where he caught the ball and got some yak and some broken tackles. So those guys stepped up and filled in. I mean, you're never going to replace Travis Kelce, right? I mean, that's just not like reasonable expectation to have. But those guys came in and played admirably. So let's just get into it. Let's just talk about week one, NFL kickoff against the Detroit Lions.
You guys were at the game. First of all, how was the pregame atmosphere, the tailgate, the parking lot? Like, what was the feel going into this game, guys?
I know you saw.
Oh yeah, you guys went and saw the new stadium setup.
Yeah, they got the new Hall of Honor display there with some photography work by our man Nick here. The 2022 AFC Champions trophy there, and then the display World Champions with the 3 Super Bowls. They got themselves a Nick Bolton jersey in there now with the Patrick Mahomes jersey. So I know our guy Bo was digging that.
Oh yeah,
Creed Humphrey.
They FaceTimed me while they were taking these pictures, and I had the biggest smile on my face, ear to ear grin, just so happy.
Yeah. So if you're getting out to a game this year, make sure you go in 15, 20 minutes earlier than you normally would. Swing by the Hall of Honor, check out the trophies. They got a ton of cool stuff in there, though, and most people probably have already seen it. So, but they've got game programs from back to the AFL days and helmets of players from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. They got Joe Montana's gloves in there. They got all kinds of shit in that place. So
cool.
It is.
Look at the ring progression size in that photo right there. Just boom, boom, boom. Just like what?
Right.
What's the next one
Patrick Mahomes'
like?
10th one, it's going to be the same size as the trophy.
Right.
Yep. The next one's gonna be the size of Scott's season ticket holder ring. It's gonna fit on like 3 fingers, and you
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Thanos' glove.
My ring's bigger than Patrick's. Nothing to be jealous of, Patrick.
No big deal.
Good. It's all good. So yeah, swing by the Hall of Honor, check out the trophies, check out the new stuff, the new setup they got there. That puts you in pretty good company. 3 trophies. So 4 puts you in some really good company.
That looks good.
And that's what the Chiefs were starting off at. They had a really good pregame ceremony too, where they wheeled out some big Lombardi trophies and said some nice words. They kind of honored Norma Hunt, who passed. Obviously, she's called her affectionately known as the First Lady of Football. She's seen every minute of every Chiefs game and attended every Super Bowl and crazy football life that she had. Fortunately, she passed on, and everybody I'm sure has seen the patch that they're wearing with her initials on it.
Are you guys in this photo?
Are
you in this photo? Sorry, I'm sorry to cut you off. Yeah, are you in this photo? Is that you guys up there on the top right?
We are probably
probably
over here.
Right in there somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You guys are in this photo.
We might.
Yeah, you guys are a part of history. I'm so sorry to cut you off, man. Like I just had to.
No, you're fine.
Throw that in
there's
there.
A good chance that we are in there. I mean, can't see us, but we're there.
I see. You're the one wearing red up there. I see you guys. Yeah, you're the one saying "Go Chiefs."
I'm one of the white jerseys.
They also did the banner reveal, which was pretty cool. They did a countdown and then revealed the banner that's got all 3 Super Bowl logos on it. That was sick. Go to our Chiefs Kingdom Live X account, and I put or on the YouTube channel here, there's a short too, or Nick put it up there, where it's a video of them unveiling the Super Bowl champions banner that's there at the top up above the press box there on, I believe that's the south side of the stadium.
Yep.
Super Bowl 4, 54, and 57 champions. I love that Super Bowl 57 logo. That's so dope. Yeah, it's got the mountains,
they nailed it. The artist nailed it.
All 3 of us here on CKL are desert rats anyway. Grew up out in the desert out there in New Mexico. Spent a lot of time in New Mexico and Arizona. So
yeah, you throw that turquoise in with a little bit of like desert brown and reds, right? You're like, yep, you're talking to my soul there.
Yeah, no, they nailed it. So good job by the Chiefs. Good job by Chiefs Kingdom. It was loud. There was a big, applause and a big shakeup when they unveiled the banner there. They didn't do a player run out. Sacrificed that, I guess, for the trophy presentation and the banner reveal. So
yeah.
Kind of went downhill from there, though, unfortunately, after the banner reveal.
Not all the way.
Why can't we have nice things? You just can't have your cake and eat it too, I guess. Lions come in. We'll talk about the details of the game, but we were all pretty confident going into this game, even though the Chiefs were without arguably their best player on defense and their second best player on offense. Came out, Chiefs started good. Lions get the opening kickoff. Chiefs win the toss, deferred. Chiefs get a 3 and out.
3 and out.
3
and out. Feeling great. Feeling great.
Good. Didn't do anything with that 3 and out.
Fake punt. I mean, with that play, right, you do it when it's like the least expected. I couldn't think of another time where it's more least expected to fake a punt than on your own 20, right? Like, hats off to the Lions. They got us. They called it.
Yeah.
No damn Sorensen didn't stop that one.
Yeah. Jacksonville got us, though. That's kind of been an issue, though, with teams getting the Chiefs here the last 2 or 3 years on these onside kicks, so catching them by surprise. You've always got to be ready for it. When you're playing these teams and they're coming in, they're going to take their swings at the champs and they're going to roll the dice more than in the past. So
yeah, Jacksonville last year, right? Onside kick.
Yep.
Start the game. Stole 2 possessions in that game. Ended up not hurting the Chiefs, kind of like it did in this game. But yeah, so that was frustrating. Then they go down. They score a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown scores a touchdown for the Lions. How are you guys feeling when Chiefs win 7-0, Bo?
It's feeling all right. I had the Lions' new running back on my fantasy team. I'm like, we've been here before, right? All right, he got his yards. Let's go. Sucks. Amon St. Brown got the touchdown, but dude, it isn't a thing, right? When you have 15 at the helm, being down 7-0, you're like, yeah, I would love to be up 7-0. Ultimately, I'd just start running up the score on somebody. But I mean, I don't feel too bad when we go down to start the game, right? I felt. Dude, I was actually more positive than I probably should have been. Just all right, the defense had a 3-and-out, right? And they're hyped. They probably had a crazy adrenaline dump when they got the 3-and-out. And then special teams comes out. Those guys were still kind of still hyped up, just not even paying attention. And then you're expected to go out and stop them again. I don't know. It is what it is. Maybe you're supposed to perform some more, but I feel like the defense did their job, so I don't really blame them for having the Lions continue that drive and go down and score. But ultimately, I think the defense played great. But at 7-0, like you're saying, I wasn't feeling bad. I mean, just here we go. Now we get to see our team. Nick, how are you feeling when they scored on us?
Really, at no point in this game was I ever worried, which obviously that was wrong. I should have been worried. But no, I mean, I wasn't. I was like, well, okay, they stole possession from us. We're going to go down there, we're going to get it. I mean, we've got the better team. I still feel like we have the better team. And so it was unfortunate. They caught us off guard. Kudos to them. But sometimes those things happen and there's a slight momentum change. So
yeah, but the Chiefs, they score a couple of touchdowns back to back there, unanswered. They get up 14-7 going into halftime. You're getting the ball to start the second half. You're thinking, hey, if we can put up 3 or another 7 here, we're looking at a 2 or 3 possession game here. The Lions came out. They took their swings. They got their trick play, and they're still losing at halftime, and the Chiefs get the ball. How many times have we seen this play out before?
Right.
And Chiefs come out. They get the ball started in the second half. They don't score. Offense struggled. The drops. We'll get to that here in a second. But then the Lions get the pick 6, and it's 14-14 at that point. And then you're kind of like, okay, that did not go how we thought it was going to go. When we went into halftime with the 7-point lead and getting the ball, and it was a game from that point on.
Yeah,
and the Lions, they were back in it. They got some momentum. The defense still played admirably, though. The Chiefs' defense played good. This was a top 5 offense last year in points scored. They held them to 14 points because 7 obviously is on the pick 6. Was a little bit disappointing, though. The defense kind of gave up that. Well, they didn't kind of. They did gave up that touchdown drive there in the fourth quarter. David Montgomery rushes in from the 9-yard line. I'm sitting there thinking, man, what do we got to do to run the ball in from the 9-yard line? We struggle to run the ball in from the damn 2 or the 1-yard line.
These guys run the ball to get a first down, dude.
And you could just tell, I looked at Nick on that drive. He says, well, maybe they can hold them to 3 here. I said, I don't know, man. It looks like they're just going to keep pounding it in on us, and they're just going to run it in. And I think maybe 2 plays later, Montgomery runs it in for the touchdown. Man.
For their second touchdown. So let's do that. For their second offensive touchdown. For their third touchdown overall, but
right.
I know what you're saying. I feel like this is going to be the trend.
Hold the lead right there, though. You got to play 60
minutes. But it's an offensive league. I know what you're saying, but I'm just pointing out the caveat that it was only their second offensive touchdown.
Right. Yeah, and then the rest is history. The Chiefs, they get the ball. They stop the Lions on 4th down, which is a dumbass move on their part.
Yeah.
Give the ball to the Chiefs. And then another drop. That's the story of the game, right? Was the dropped passes. Anybody argue with that? Anybody? I mean,
no.
That cost them the game, right? It wasn't Chris Jones being out. It wasn't Travis Kelce being out. Drop passes. I mean, that was a Lions touchdown somehow. Believe it or not.
That picture is a pick six right now. And
I mean,
I think I texted you guys immediately after the game. I was like, I hate blaming the game on one person or a ref, right? But man, I feel like you could boil this down to one or two people. I hate to say it, man. There's one or two people, if they just executed the same way everybody else did their job in this game where they get paid millions of dollars to do one thing. This picture is one of those examples. It's a different game, dude. It's a different game. Any one of those drop passes by either Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, I mean, pick your receiver. It's a different game. We make first downs, we extend plays, the time's different, you know what I mean? And then we had the Lions by their tail essentially at that point. So I'd argue that any of the drop passes that we saw kind of affected the game. So I don't want to pin it on one person. But dude, I gotta put this out there live. I was so frustrated with Andy Reid. I mean, props to him for trying to take the blame and being a good coach, good leader, being like, I didn't put him in the best position out there. But I'm sorry, if the best position out there is wide open in the middle of the field in stride, I don't know what else you're trying to put your receivers in, man. Like that's the position you want them to be in. Yep. And so like I get what he's trying to do, take the blame for it, but man, yeah, the drops cost us the game. Sad to say.
I can't tell who that is in that picture in the bottom right-hand corner, that Trey Smith, but someone's not having a good time right there.
Is that Aiden Hutchinson guy too? Just getting
they're getting fucking laid out right there. I mean, they're going to the ground. They're not having fun, but
I didn't even see that in that picture until you pointed it out.
You know, we came into this season and we kind of talked about MVS was the veteran receiver on the team. He's a starter. He was here last year. He's got familiarity with the offense. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, all the discussion in training camp was, are they going to keep 7 wide receivers? Because look at all these wide receivers they got.
Yeah. Yep.
And the inexperience bit them in this game. Not just Kadarius Toney, not just that play there, but the Lions, they go for the 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. Justin Reed, who had a rough game up to that point, makes a nice play, knocks the ball down, gives the ball the offense right there about midfield. I want to say it was the very next play. Kadarius Toney's wide open again. In field goal range, a little over 2 minutes left to go. Now, the Lions had timeouts, so the Chiefs couldn't have just kneeled it and kicked a field goal. But they're in field goal range. They're at least going to get a field goal attempt. Harrison Butker had been 2 for 2 on the night, was looking really good. He's looking like he's back to 100%. Last year, he struggled.
He's got a draw on his kick instead of a fade. It's a little right to left action. So it's this way instead of that way, right? Like, he's got it going on.
So he was looking good. So you feel good about the Chiefs' chances if Toney catches that pass. Patrick Mahomes makes the miracle play on 4th and 25.
Hits Sky Moore
in the hands. Second drop of the night for Sky Moore. I don't want to hear that the ball was high. Patrick's being chased by 2 defenders, and it hit him in the hands on both plays. This is the one there, obviously, in the 4th quarter we're talking about now. But there was one earlier in the game that killed a drive that was a little high. Yeah, but, I mean, he's still time your jump better. Get both hands on the ball. You should catch it. Those are both drops.
Dude, and like I'm sorry. There's so many people defending Sky Moore here. Like, oh, it was a hard catch, blah, 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 blah. Like, in the age of Justin Jeffersons and Jamar Chases and all of these guys, like, I'm sorry, if you want to be the guy on the Super Bowl defending champion team, you got to make that catch that hits you in both your hands at the mark, right? On the most crucial play.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of those moments that we should have had as Chiefs fans. This is the 4th and 9 against Baltimore, right? This is the Wasp. This is one of those plays where it's 4th and 25. Nothing's been going right. Patrick, like people were saying, well, Patrick overthrew it. Patrick was running, to his left
direction.
Yeah, he's running to his left. He threw it across both hash marks to his right while he's getting chased. And it hits the guy in the freaking hands and he drops it. I don't understand how we could sit there. Any blame on anybody other than Sky Moore here. And
I put a post out there on X. I don't know if that's your internet or my internet, Nick. You're cutting in and out. My audio, I can't tell who's it's on. But
sorry,
is it mine?
I mean, from considering like where Patrick is at, and he's being chased, he's got 2 defenders on him. That's a perfect pass. I put on the Chase Kingdom Live X account. Like, there are people blaming the drops on Patrick Mahomes. Like, don't be that person. Don't be that person.
Oh. All right, let's dive into this a little bit. Let's dive into this a little bit because I'm not blaming anything on Patrick Mahomes. Don't get me that's not what I'm trying to say here. What I am saying is there are some passes you could say like, yeah, he maybe overthrew it or he underthrew it, but not the ones we're talking about, not the game-changing ones, not the ones that like if you just make this catch on 1st and 10, we have the ball in the 4th quarter with 2 minutes left, and like you said, game over, right? Like that. That's kind of not the passes I think that like most people are criticizing about versus like where people start like when they're criticizing Patrick, like, well, look at this pass, and this pass. We're like, those aren't the ones we're talking about, man. Like he hit everybody on the numbers. And like, sure, I'm sure Patrick's the kind of guy that'd be like, yeah, there's something I could improve on here. There's this pass and that pass. Like I could definitely work on my own. But at the end of the day, it was not his fault. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. 1,000,000%. So the drops. Look, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, they're young players. There was a lot of people saying, oh, it was just they had a bad night and they'll be better next time. These guys don't have a long track record of success in the NFL. Kadarius Toney's career has been plagued by injuries. Sky Moore last year, he had 250 yards receiving, 0 touchdowns. That's a disappointing year from a rookie 2nd-round draft pick.
Yeah.
How concerned are you guys with the wide receiving core? Rasheed Rice scored a touchdown. He had a nice catch or two there. There was a play where he kind of broke off of his route and ran with Patrick and caught the ball, gave Patrick an outlet there on a broken play. Looks like he might be able to get some yak yards. But you know, Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, people were saying we're going to be like the starting wide receivers. Kadarius Toney, a lot of people are saying he's going to be wide receiver 1. How are you feeling about that after week 1, Nick?
Look, I picked Sky Moore to be the player of the game last week, and he was in the position to make all the plays that would have made me right, and he didn't make plays. So I'm worried about him. I think he's undersized, and I don't think he has this. You know, he doesn't have like Tyreek Hill speed, right? So, I mean, if he's 6'1" or 6'2" instead of 5'10", there, that's a lot easier grab to make. So, I'm concerned about him being in the starting lineup. Kadarius Toney, I think it's still pretty early to tell. The guy was open. He's just got to catch the ball. He hasn't had a history of drops. But he hasn't had a history of a lot of things, right? Because he's been injured. So that's been the big question mark is he going to be healthy? So I think I'm going to give Kadarius Toney a little bit more leeway here than Sky Moore. I think that we need to be looking at rotating one of these other guys up that showed more spark, right? Live there in person. When he only got a few snaps, but Justin Ross looked different on the field than our other receivers. I'm going to say it, man. Like even when he didn't get the ball, he only got 1 target, I think, but he caught it. He just looked fast and he looked big out on the field, man. So I would like to see some of these guys, and kind of like what we were seeing with Isaiah Pacheco last year, where we're like, well, is he going to take over the starting spot at some point? I think you're going to see some of these guys shuffle up. I just think that it's probably going to take a few games before you start seeing it happen, probably. So it could all change when we get Travis Kelce in the mix, man. I mean, he makes a huge difference when he's out on the field. So
draws a lot of attention away from those other guys. So
yeah, so I mean, it may change with Kelce out there, but you got to think like long term. I mean, Kelce's getting up there in age, man. Like we just gotta be looking to what are the solutions of the future. And I don't know. I understand what you're saying though, right? These guys they're not super proven, right? They're not like they don't have a history of 3 or 4 or 5 years of really good, play to fall back on. So
yeah. And I it's not like I'm rooting against the guys.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a Chiefs fan. I want them to be good, but it's just hard for me to see them perform the way they've performed. I mean, I put a post out on our X account. It was funny because I saw McCole Hardman got one special teams play on the Jets this week. They didn't even use the guy at all. And I kind of like half jokingly said, okay, here's out. Jets release McCole Hardman and Chiefs bring him back, and man, it started like a huge conversation and people were pretty passionate on both sides of it. McCole Hardman is a guy to me that maybe we underappreciated when he was here on this team. There's people that were laughing that suggestion off. Not like I wasn't even saying it like he was the answer to our problems or we need to go get McCole Hardman back. But McCole Hardman, if you look at just even his rookie year, I mean, he had twice as many yards as Sky Moore, and he had 6 touchdowns to Sky Moore's 0. Kadarius Toney in his career, he's played in 20 games, I want to say, so just 3 or 4 more than McCole Hardman played in his rookie year. McCole Hardman has as many yards as Kadarius Toney had, and he's got 6 touchdowns to Kadarius Toney's 2 career touchdowns.
Yeah.
These guys, they got some work cut out for them, and I'm rooting for them, and I want them to be good. But we saw this with turnovers, the drops. Rashee Rice, I'm sitting here loving that guy up for the plays he made, but he had another drop. He's had at least one drop in every game as a Chief. It's a concern. To act like it's not a concern is, I think, being overly optimistic, or you're not really looking at the big picture. You're kind of going off evidence or things in these guys' past that aren't there to suggest that they're gonna shake it off and be better. But I mean, I'm hopeful they are. They're gonna be out there. They're gonna play. They're gonna get their opportunities. I don't think they're gonna go away from them. But I mean, if we continue to have the drop issue, man, give me some Justin Ross out there,
right?
With some more snaps.
We alluded to that last week a lot, man. Like we alluded to like exactly. Like we're like, okay, so if this is our receiving core and Travis Kelce isn't in it, let's feature everybody else that's sitting kind of waiting in the wings to be highlighted, right? And it was a little disappointing to see him just kind of go back to that. The drops thing is so weird because it's like one drop, it is what it is. Rashee Rice, right? He has one drop, but then the next catch is a catch for a touchdown. Next catch is a catch for a catch, and then eight yak. You know what I mean? So like that's a little different than like the Kadarius Toney just 3 drops in a row when all of those passes are super crucial. You know what I mean? And so like the worry, I don't know, the worry's not like so big for me. I still have a lot of faith in this receiving core. I'm just hopeful that the coaches see the rest, like the depth of the bench that we're talking about, right? Put Justin Ross in there, put Richie James in there, put Rashee Rice in there. Like if these guys aren't going to perform, don't go back to him, let him drop it 3 times. Let's go back to the guy that like, okay, he drops it, but then like, yeah, he's a little bit more sure-handed. The Tony thing is for me personally, right? Like it's a weird glance over, first of all, to be like, yeah, Travis Kelce's out of the game. Like that's just like a weird, like you say it, but like that's so big. It's not having Travis Kelce and Chris Jones in that is like you other than Patrick Mahomes, your 2 best players on your team aren't playing in this game, right? And it's going to make
players, right?
Yeah, exactly. Voted by other players, even in that sense, right? So it's like automatically you kind of know like this game's a little different. I was alluding to it a little bit last week, like it's going to be a little different. We don't have these guys. Is it really necessary for this game? And we were arguing like, yeah, every game counts, but like at the same sense, like we kind of knew this wasn't going to be the same team we're going to see. And you put Travis Kelce on the field, I feel like all these worries go away. You're not going to Kadarius Toney on 3rd and 10 or Sky Moore on 4th and 25, right? Like 4th and 25 probably isn't a factor if Kelce's out there. It might be, you might have a 4th down situation, but it's not gonna be that long. And like, it's just a different game at that point. So like, we'll see, man. When he's back on the field, I feel like it's gonna be all right. We talk a lot about other players bringing up other players, and Travis Kelce is that guy. When he's on the field, other people want to play harder too. They understand the situation. They understand what he does for the game, how it opens them up. So I'm not hitting the panic button yet, man. I'm one of those faithful in our receiving core. Like it's week 1, man. Like I don't feel like you can pin your hopes on and dreams on week 1. It was very disappointing to see all those drops, but at the end of the day, we lost by 1. We had 2 field goals that should have been touchdowns. So I mean, I feel like our offense is there. Our offense is there to be lethal. I even texted you guys at halftime, like, how are you guys feeling? This feels good, right? Going into halftime, it felt so great. That drive for the first touchdown, dude, it felt so good. I was just like, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
This is the offense I was waiting for. So
yeah, and there were some bright spots. Your man Jay Watt, Justin Watson,
yeah, buddy,
he made some big plays, made some nice catches. MVS made a couple nice catches. MVS, you'd like to see the guy make more than 2 nice catches in a big game, week 1 game, if he's the veteran guy that's going to be, you're leaning on as your starting wide receiver. So it's just the inexperience and the lack of production. I kind of bit the Chiefs in this game. Not to say it can't get fixed. I don't think they're going to have – I think the NFL stats said this Next Gen Stats or whatever website said sure they had 6 drops. There was like 10 drops in that game. There was a hell of a lot more than 6 drops because I mean,
Pro Football Focus
only had 3 or 4 himself, and Sky Moore had 2.
Right.
So they're being generous. It's like baseball and errors. They don't even call. I mean, you watch a baseball game, and the guy bounces off his glove, and he was running when he tried to catch it, so it's not an error.
It's the same thing.
That's an error. Like
it's the same. Did you give Patrick Mahomes that interception there? Is that on him? You know what I mean?
No.
Exactly, right? Like, so stats are a little weird.
And the look on Patrick's face there towards the end of the game and after the game, you could tell he was irritated with the guys and the drops. He didn't call anybody out, and he's not going to do that as the leader of the team. But, he was not happy. So, and I guarantee you Coach Reed wasn't happy. Kadarius Toney, the jury's still out on these guys. This isn't like Tyreek Hill going to have some drops, right? Well, I mean, these guys, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, they got 1,400 yard seasons with 12 touchdowns to fall back on their resume to say, that's not out of character for them. These guys, they just don't have that in the history and the background to just say that you can be 100% confident that it was just a fluky thing, an off night for those guys, and they'll be a lot better moving forward. We hope so, and I want them to, but they got to have a shorter leash with those guys because of the lack of history and production that they've had, and get some guys in there that maybe got a little bit better hands. Get Justin Ross in there. I mean, you saw the play made in the Browns game in his hand, and that touchdown he scored in the final preseason game. So he's been making one-handed catches in the preseason, looking good. Positives we talked about. Defense played really good. Jared Goff had a little bit more time than you would like. Only 1 sack, but you got to think Chris Jones is going to make a big difference coming back there. Defense usually starts slow under Steve Spagnuolo. They had a fast start against a good offense this go-around, so
they gave up 14 points.
Yeah, gave up 14 points. Man, if you had told me the defense is going to give up 14 points in this game, I would have bet the Chiefs to win by.
I know, dude. 20. I would have lost so much money. I would have bet my house.
That's why it's sports. That's why it's a fun game. That's why the games are fun, because you don't know what's going to happen. Might see something that's never happened before. You can't, the unpredictability of especially the NFL in week 1. You saw games all over the league, crazy scores and outcomes, and teams winning that you didn't think were going to win. So,
hey, shout out to Nick Bolton real quick. He had himself a day, and that was one of the guys I called out for player of the game right there, man. Like, dude, he did well. Like, shout out real quick for
he did
over this game.
Week 2, Jacksonville Jaguars coming up Sunday. They won their week 1 game. They looked pretty good, although they weren't overly impressive they played the Texans. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't have an overly impressive win against the Texans, although they've got weapons. Calvin Ridley looks like he is picking up where he left off before his year suspension.
He looked good.
It's gonna be a tougher test than the Lions, I believe. I think the Jaguars are a better team than the Lions. Travis Etienne, quality running back. Nick, how are we feeling about this game coming up against Jacksonville?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good. We handled them the last couple times that we played them pretty well. So, I mean, it's just
close games. They're one-score games, both games, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
sorry.
No, it's I don't feel like the score indicates how close those games really were. I mean,
Patrick was hurt too in the playoff.
Patrick was hurt, and we were up by 2 scores until late in that game.
True.
So I feel confident, right? I mean, it's just going to be can we handle ETN? Can we their number one wide receiver? Can we bottle them up, right? Can we get to Lawrence? How good a shape is Chris Jones going to be in? Is there going to be some rust since he wasn't in training camp? Those are some things that I think we need to look out for. How's Jawan Taylor going to do versus Josh Allen? I think is going to be a big matchup to look out for. Is he going to get some penalties called? There's much ado made about some things that he was doing that as you look around the league, like a lot of people are doing, but he seemed to get singled out. So
I don't even want to get into that.
So we'll see. But I mean, I think that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch for, right? Old teammates going against each other. But yeah, I feel like the Chiefs are going to win this game. I feel like I don't know that we're going to win by 2 scores, but I would say, 6-7 point victory is what I'm feeling. I'm going to drop here in a couple
of close game, huh?
But I'm thinking it's going to be like a 28-21, 27-20 type Chiefs win here. So,
well,
hey, Nick, can you tell
Nick broke down every single aspect of the game in 2 minutes. So
exactly, I was like, Nick, can you tell your wife not to have a birthday on our podcast night, man? That's really interrupting the flow here.
Bo, how are you feeling about this game?
Well, not to beat a dead horse, how Nick just nailed everything about this game. I really like that we faced them a lot last year, right? Like we know what to expect. We have a lot of tape on them versus us. I like Nick was saying, everything that they're willing to throw at us, I feel like we have a great counter for. I hate to buy into the hype of week 1 overreaction. I feel like we're good, man. I feel like we're good. We missed out on a couple offensive scores, but I mean, if we turned 7 points if we turned those 3 points into 7 points, we're talking about a whole different Chiefs team here, right? And that's a whole different look at this game. And I think the Jags know that, dude. I think they know that. They played pretty well, but I mean, they always kind of play pretty well. Trevor Lawrence is a pretty decent quarterback. I actually picked him up on my fantasy team. Kind of outperformed a lot of the quarterbacks this week, but that's week 1 kind of juju in that sense. Maybe Scott and I'll do some fantasy stuff when Nick drops out here, but I'm feeling pretty good, dude. I'm super optimistic still about this receiving core. I think, dude, if Archie, like, there was a couple drives in that last game that we looked lethal, and that's what I was looking for. I was just like, oh, there it is. And I kind of feel like it's this game of you can't show all your cards at the beginning of the season because other teams are going to watch the tape. They're going to be able to game plan for it and kind of ruin your parade. And the Chiefs they have that in them. And I just feel like it's this weird game plan of trying to play a little too conservative so you don't just give up all your aces at the beginning kind of thing. But when it comes to the Jags, we have Chris Jones back. I don't imagine Trevor Lawrence having a ton of time to make all the decisions he had last week. So I'm really looking forward to see what our defense does with Chris Jones in the mix. They looked pretty good without him. I know we got 1 sack and it kind of came late, and Jared Goff wasn't as pressured as we'd like to see him. But I mean, dude, by the fourth quarter, we were figuring it all out. Our defense looked pretty good. I would say almost unstoppable. And we can get into it a little bit if we want to, but I was kind of questioning the decision not to punt because of how good our defense was playing. So I'm feeling really good that same defense is going to show up next week and give the Jags a lot of problems. So feeling good. How about you, man? How are you feeling about the Jags next week?
Yeah, it's tough competition. I think the Jaguars are better than the Lions. Trevor Lawrence, I don't think anybody would argue, is he's a better quarterback than Jared Goff. They have Calvin Ridley, wide receiver. He was one of the best wide receivers in the league 2 years ago. He obviously had the year suspension.
Yeah.
Last year, missed the entire year for the gambling thing. Travis Etienne is an explosive running back. Chiefs did a good job of stopping him, though, last year. Defensive line's going to have to step up. Nick's out for the evening, so just stuck with Bo and I now.
The faces of the show, not the brains. You get the faces. You don't get the brains. You get the faces now. So if you're listening, I'm sorry. Maybe tune into YouTube and catch this.
I mean, I think the defense is going to need to hold the Jags to that 17, 20-point mark. Their defense, they can get after the quarterback. They've got playmakers on defense as well. I feel good about the game. I'm not as confident about this game as I was the Lions game. I will say that. So,
even with Chris Jones and possibly Travis Kelce coming back?
What's that?
I said even with Chris Jones and possibly Travis Kelce coming back, you're not feeling as confident as about the Lions?
No.
I know what you're saying, that they're a better team.
The Jaguars are a better team, and it's on the road.
Okay.
And I'm worried about the wide receiving core more than the average fan, I think. It wasn't just the drops. There was a lot of times Patrick had time to throw, and guys just weren't open. He didn't have anybody to throw the ball to.
You saw him hesitate a lot during that, right?
Big Doug brings up a good point there too. The Chiefs, they could not run the ball at all.
They couldn't at all, dude. I mean, so hopeful of our running backs.
Our guy, the human snail, was out there getting the first 2 or 3 touches of the game at running back for whatever reason. I still. It befuddles me. I can't figure it out. Why Clyde Edwards-Helaire continues to be the starter. He didn't get the majority of touches. Isaiah Pacheco handled it. You get Pacheco in there to set the tone early.
Right.
I just don't. I don't understand it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has done nothing in his career to get the starting nod and get those early touches in a game. I just. Although he outrushed, had more yards per carry, I want to say, than Isaiah Pacheco did. So, yeah, the offense is a little bit more concerning me, I think, than the average person.
He did have more yards.
I feel good. I mean, I feel like the Chiefs are the better team. I think the Chiefs are going to win the game, but I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to come down to, it's going to be one of those games, whoever has the ball last wins the game. So, I think our defense matches up well with them. I think we can stop the run. We bottled Etienne up pretty well, especially in the playoff game last year. Calvin Ridley changes the equation, though, for the Jaguars.
Yeah, completely.
He had, 8 or 9 catches for 100-plus yards and a touchdown in week 1? Chiefs didn't have a wide receiver came close to that production.
John V's in the house. I just saw this.
Sorry, man. John V's swinging by. What's up,
missing locker room rant, my man. I was really hoping that was going to be on this week.
His 49ers crushed it week 1. They just went in there. Steelers are terrible, though. So, I mean, that I'm not saying that's fool's gold, but I don't know that the 49ers are as good as they looked like because the Steelers are bad.
It's a lot like that Cowboys-Giants game. Like, Cowboys dominant. Like, well, it's the fucking Giants. Like, I don't know what you're really expecting there, right?
Right. Cowboys defense won them that game. But maybe we can talk about that game here in a minute. But getting back to this Chiefs-Jaguars game, I think it's going to come down to the Chiefs' defensive line getting in there. They're going to have to put pressure on Lawrence. He's elusive, but he's not a like Lamar Jackson type guy that can get out there and run wild, especially if the plays break down. So, just keep him uncomfortable. I think is going to be like the key for the Chiefs. Defense has got to play as good as they did, or maybe even better than they did against the Lions.
How successful do you feel like our D-line's going to be at doing that? We're going to have Chris Jones back, right? So, like, the morale already right there. I know it's a road game. So, but that guy is proven to be a game changer. And then, like I'm saying, if you add Kelce to the mix on offense, like if he is healthy, if he is good to go, do you think it's going to be as close as what you're really thinking? Like, I kind of feel like, dang, dude, we might be up a point or a touchdown or 2 on this game. I don't know if it's a shootout.
Man, it's gonna be. I think they can score points, and so I just don't think they're a slouch. I think they're one of the top 3 or 4 or 5. I mean, Chiefs, Bengals, and Bills all started 0-1. Everybody was talking about they were the 3 best teams in the AFC, but I put the Jaguars in there with – I was going to say maybe the Jets with that defense and Aaron Rodgers, but, man, he's gone for the year, and they're back to Zach Wilson.
That's crazy, right?
Brutal, but, yeah, I mean, I think when I'm looking at the top of the AFC, I think you're looking at a mix of the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills. I don't think the Bengals and Bills lost both their opening games, and Josh Allen looked bad, but so did Joe Burrow for that matter. I don't think those guys forgot how to play football in the offseason, and it is week 1, so
you're right.
Weird, wild things happen. But, I mean, I throw the Jags up in there with those 3 as top 4 or 5 teams, maybe a 15.
Okay.
Maybe I look at the Ravens, maybe in there.
I mean, if you're looking at week one biases, do you throw the Raiders in there or no? I mean, the Raiders almost look like they were a team, but they're playing the fucking Broncos.
Yeah, they struggled to beat a bad Denver Broncos team by 1 point. Jimmy G is not the answer out there. I don't see their defense being all that great. The Broncos.
I was trying to think of a subtle way to bring up your other Facebook poll, which we don't bring up. So if you follow us on Twitter, X, go check out Scott's other Facebook question, or Twitter question, which was who suffered a little bit more embarrassment week 1, right? Or why don't you go ahead and say it? 'Cause it was yours, dude, and it was pretty brilliant. You've been getting some great interaction. So
it was. I was just like, who is more embarrassed after week 1? The Bengals fans for talking shit about the Chiefs losing and then getting their ass beat by the Browns, or Sean Payton talking shit on Nathaniel Hackett, the Broncos coach last year. Sean Payton, shocker, the Broncos didn't come out and light up the scoreboard and look like a Super Bowl contender like everybody was expecting them to with Sean Payton. So I think he just looked like an ass coming out, losing at home week 1 to the fucking Raiders. Oh, man.
Dude.
You can't talk shit on the previous coach and then come in and lose the Raiders. Okay? You can't do that. Bengals
you can't talk shit about the previous coach and then put up 2 touchdowns, right? Like, I think that's what they put up. And, like, one of them was extension of play by the refs. I don't know. I kind of caught the game off in hand, but.
Yeah, but I might throw the Dolphins up in the Dolphins looked good. Their offense looked spicy. Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, bro. Well, let's get into this. Well, let's do fantasy.
The cheetah's the cheetah. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to say I'm looking at the top 6 teams in the AFC. I'm thinking you could put your money down pretty comfortably that one of these 6 teams is going to be in the Super Bowl for the AFC. The Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills, the Jags, the Dolphins.
See, I don't know what the Jets are right now, dude. I
got fucking shredded by the Chargers.
All right, so what's your let's just go a little bit back. What's your opinion about the Jets, right? Like Aaron Rodgers gets out 4 plays. It is what it is. Ruptured Achilles, probably not career ending, season ending for sure, maybe career ending. But like, dude, they still came back and beat the Bills. They came back and like
Josh Allen was turnover factor. He had 3 interceptions and a fumble.
Yeah.
And 2 of those interceptions were terrible plays by him. It wasn't like the Jets made some awesome defensive play on 2 of those interceptions where he was forcing the ball to Diggs, which we can talk about maybe some of the struggles of the Bills here in a little bit. But the Jets are back to Zach Wilson. I don't look at them as contenders anymore.
Well, not necessarily contenders, but like my theory of the Bills was like they weren't going to be as good as they were, and like that's kind of coming to fruition, hopefully. But all right, let's just say
I still
Zach
think they're
Wilson,
one of the
dude. Zach Wilson had a whole off-season mini camp, not really a whole off-season, but a mini camp, and like all the practices leading up to week 1 with Aaron Rodgers teaching you the ins and outs, right? You're going to have Aaron Rodgers in your ear, right? Like, I'm just so confused, like what the Jets are, what they mean to this division. And like, dude, they beat the Bills. They beat the Bills without Aaron Rodgers. He played 4 snaps. You're not going to be like, oh, well, he came in and finished up Aaron's dirty work, right?
Terrible with Zach Wilson at quarterback.
Sure, but
the defense kept giving him the ball in good field position over and over and over with turnovers, and Josh Allen giving it. I mean, the Bills gave that game away. They should have won that game. They were up 17-3 or 17-7 at one point in that game. So,
but like, okay, so is it like the
I don't
Bills
take
just
any team
choked,
with,
or do you think defenses can win games today? Or do you
not
think the
enough
Bills just
to make
choked?
not enough to make you a Super Bowl contender.
Well, I mean, it only takes one game, right?
If you can't score points and light up the scoreboard in today's NFL, defense isn't going to carry you for a whole season. It's just not going.
Well, yeah. Well, all right, sure. I know. I'm not saying the Jets need to pin their hopes on the Jets defense, but I feel like they're under
without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and they were with the same
Mike
quarterback,
White
so
and
it's not
Zach
like
Wilson, and they were a team that just missed the playoffs, which is what I think they are again now that they don't have Aaron Rodgers.
And that's completely fair to say. I'm not saying they're going to be a powerhouse. However, like I do feel like just like discrediting Zach Wilson as like this quarterback who doesn't have the experience. Like he had a whole season of like
he's not good.
Eating crow all year. Like he made some throws. He made some throws, right? And like, you're a couple. I feel like we have like the bias of having the best quarterback in the league, and you're like, yeah, he's not good. But like for the Jets, losing Aaron Rodgers, pinning all their hopes and dreams on that guy, I wouldn't say they're completely out of like making the playoffs. I'm not trying to say they're gonna win it or anything, but like, dude, with that 7th seed and everything, like I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're the 7th seed, but if you're the 7th seed, you're not one of. We're talking about like the Jags being a top contender in the AFC. The Jets are not that without Aaron Rodgers.
True. That's true.
They're not.
Yeah, that's true. Did you see the Vegas odds went from like 60 to 20% as soon as he got hurt? Dude.
Right. So yeah. I have a lot of respect for the Jags. I think they're a good team. They got a good quarterback. They got a good coach. They got a good running back. They got a good number 1 wide receiver. They've got some good players. They got some dogs on defense. A guy that can rush the passer, and Josh Allen. They're a legit opponent, man. I'm telling you. Like, I think the Chiefs are better. And whenever you got Patrick Mahomes, you got the best quarterback on the field. You've got the better chance of winning the game. But so it's a combination. I think of it being close. As I think the Jags are that good, and I'm like I said, I'm more concerned about the wide receivers than the average fan is. Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore have not proven anything in this league yet. That's not to say that they can't. And that's not to say they can't be better than they've shown. But to this point, they haven't. So,
no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, for sure.
I think it's going to be a good game. And I think it's going to come down to the defense. The defense is going to have to do what they did against the Lions and play well and keep the Jaguars out of the end zone and give the Chiefs a chance to win this game, but by scoring 23. 24-20, 24-17, something like that, 23-17. I just think that's the kind of game you're looking at. You see it different than that?
No, I mean, not entirely. You make completely valid points, right? I just feel like I'm more optimistic, right? Like I just don't think our receivers are going to make the same drops. And I said this 2 years ago, thinking. Well, like I said this 2 years ago, like I don't think the fucking fluke bobble a pass up to the opposing defense is going to be a problem. That seemed to be a problem 2 years ago completely, right? Like that happened left and fucking right. So I mean, like I don't know. Like I have a lot more faith in our receivers that they're going to be able to correct what happened last week. There were so many just wide open, blatant drops that like, how do you? If you can't correct that, you shouldn't be on this team, man, because that's what you're getting paid to do. But I want to change a little like we're still. Sorry, I went on a little fantasy note, a little side note in my brain. Are the Browns a team this year?
I don't know. They got some good players on defense. Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson did look that
though. Yeah, but Cincinnati came out last year and lost week 1 to the Steelers, who were bad. Joe Burrow had like 4 or 5 interceptions or something like that. Week 1's weird. No, I don't look at the Browns as a serious contender. They don't. They got Nick Chubb and they got Myles Garrett and Zaire White on defense. But outside of that.
What did you think of old Deshaun Watson's play? I mean, he didn't look terrible. He didn't look like all-star.
Did you watch that game? Like, he did not look good, man. He didn't look very good.
I'll give you. There was some plays he just looked like dog shit. But
I mean, he had a nice touchdown
as
run
bad as last year.
But man, some of the passes he made were bad. I mean, he was spiking the ball in front of receivers, throwing short.
He did throw him into the dirt.
Yeah,
but dude, but they're. I know your opinion about running, but their run game kind of supplements like all those shortcomings a little bit, man. Like you give the ball to Nick Chubb, he gets you 8 yards. You can throw 1 or 2 into the dirt a little bit. But dude, I mean, I know the game was raining pretty much all day, dog shit weather, wet field. But like both teams have to play in it. Both teams equally face the elements. Why do you think the Browns did so much better than the Bengals?
They didn't look that much better than the Bengals. Both of those teams were kind of plodding along and not really doing a whole lot. And the Browns got a late score there that made it look worse than it was. But I mean, that was a 1-score game for a majority of the game. Neither of those teams looked that good to me.
Dude, the Bengals had 5, maybe 6. I think it was 5 3-and-outs.
Yeah,
5 3-and-outs. No first downs.
Joe Burrow was like taking the gloves on and putting the gloves on and taking the gloves off and frustrated with that. Like, have you never thrown the ball in the rain before? Have you never played? Like, has the guy never played in the rain? His performance was really odd to me.
They look terrible, dude. This is the reason I had that brain fart is because we're talking about top contenders of the AFC, and it's obviously week 1 overreactions, as the Pat McAfee show says, but dude, that looked awful. That did not look like the Cincinnati Bengals that's going to the AFC Championship to play against the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
No. But they didn't look like that week 1 against the Steelers last year either.
They didn't.
I think they
didn't look as bad.
They were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they started 0-2 last year, I want to say, and they ended up winning 10 or 11 straight games and played the AFC Championship game again. So it kind of goes back to the same point I'm making about the Chiefs wide receivers. The Bengals and Browns, neither team looked that good, but the Bengals have a heck of a lot better track record to suggest that they're going to turn it around and play better than the Browns do.
Yeah, I hope so. My fantasy team hopes so. I got Jamar Chase somehow as the 5th pick, and kind of disappointing his production on that. Like 4 targets, 5 to 6 targets, like nothing to write home about fantasy wise.
I traded Trevor Lawrence and Deebo Samuel for Joe Burrow and Mike Evans in my Superflex redraft league this year. Whoops. Week 1, that didn't turn out to be so good, but
oof.
I still won that league that week somehow. I don't know how, but I got Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow in that Superflex league. So Joe Burrow's going to turn around. Joe Burrow didn't forget how to play football. He's not going to look that bad all year.
Dude, are the Bengals and Chiefs both week 10 buys though? Are they on different buys?
Yeah.
Or why am I thinking they're on the same bye week? I don't know. That's not like a stat I keep in my head, but for some reason I feel like they might be on the same bye week. You might be in some trouble in that league.
I would rather all my good players be on one bye week and you just forfeit that week than have 1 or 2 guys every fucking week on a bye and you're struggling to fill that gap. You know what I'm saying? Like, I almost try to draft a team where most of my really good players have the same bye week. You know what, John V? Deebo they're not using him as that wide back role this year like they did before, and he's got an injury history. So Mike Evans balled out. He had 70 yards and a touchdown, man. Like, he looked good. I still like that trade. It just week 1, Trevor Lawrence outplayed Joe Burrow by leaps and bounds. So, but I still think Joe Burrow is going to have a better year than Trevor Lawrence. And I think Deebo Samuel is going to be hurt week 5, like every year.
All right. So how much does Jacksonville have to trend up, or excuse me, Cincinnati have to trend up and Jacksonville have to trend down for that to for that sentence to come true, that Trevor or Joe Burrow is going to have a better year than Trevor?
Well, I mean, Joe Burrow, he's proven that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, he's got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I realize that.
I agree. Do you remember that guy 3 years ago, though? He had like the most sacks in the league. The offensive line was shit. Like Cincinnati couldn't do a fucking thing. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, Joe Burrow got hurt and got his leg blown out, and then he's been good, and they've been one of the best teams in the AFC every year since then. So he's never really been bad. He just missed that first year because of injury. He missed pretty much the whole season. So,
yeah.
So, I wasn't impressed by the Browns or the Bengals, but I've just seen more out of the Bengals the last 2 or 3 years to think that they're going to bounce back and be better than the Browns are. Browns could surprise us. They could be that team this year that jumps up and is better than you think they're going to be.
Yeah.
I just don't see it with Deshaun Watson, and Amari Cooper's a decent wide receiver one, but they don't have a guy like a Travis Kelce at tight end or something like that.
I fucking laughed my ass off when our boy Nico at the locker room rant was talking about how good the Browns are going to be. It's just like, you're delusional, man. And then they came out this week and they beat a fucking powerhouse in the Bengals. And it took me by surprise. Just like, wait a minute. This team, this quarterback who got like that record-breaking QB contract and kind of just like threw it into the ground, so to say, as you're pointing out, like just throwing balls into the dirt. He looked way better than I was giving him credit for, and that's why I was just saying, like the Browns really shocked me, and I don't know if it was more the Browns being good or the Bengals being bad, probably both. But
that game to me looked like two bad teams slugging it out. Like
I'm with you, dude. They might shock us, though, dude. They might shock us. They might be. It's just so weird to say that the Browns might be good. It still just doesn't roll off the tongue.
I mean, last year, like I said, the Steelers beat the Bengals, and there's all kinds of weird stuff that happens week one in the NFL. Teams come out and lay an egg. So, you want to get back to this Jags game and do a prediction, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we can talk about more prediction. Let's talk about fantasy. I mean, I don't know. I was going on a
prediction
fantasy
going
AFC
on the Chiefs game, and then we can talk about maybe some fantasy, and then get out of here.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
What do you think? How you feeling?
So I'm, like I said, a little bit more optimistic about you. I feel like our offense has a lot to grow from week one. It's week one overreactions. I feel like, yeah, we had a lot of drops. That's if that's what we're nitpicking, that's like one of the easiest things to fix in football is just catching the ball. I feel like more so than a running back fumbling it or an O-line like forgetting blocking protection or something like that. I'm okay with where we're at. I don't feel like it's going to be the shootout that we're hoping, but again, I've been pretty much wrong on everything this year. So give me 28-14, man. I'm really hopeful our defense is right there, dude. We're getting Chris Jones back. They showed me no reason to think that they're not a top 10 defense in the league this year. We got studs deep, studs up front. So like I'm gonna put it on the defense. Let's see that trend continue and get like limit the offense to scoring 14 points a game. Give me the Chiefs by 2 or more.
I'm going. Make sure you put your predictions in the chat. Chiefs, Jaguars. I'm going Chiefs 23, Jaguars 21.
Shootout.
23-21. That's why I just feel like this is gonna be a 2 or 3 point win for the Chiefs. The Jaguars are a good team, man. I like the Jaguars.
That's a low scoring game, though.
Yeah,
I guess it's not any different than what I said, but
I mean, it was 21-20, the Lions and the Chiefs.
Yeah,
so.
I feel like everybody was expecting way more points scored in that
shootout,
game.
But when Travis Kelce was out of the game, I didn't see the Chiefs lighting up the scoreboard. I thought he was going to play, is what I was thinking. So that's part of the reason. I think I picked the Chiefs to score 30 or 31.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be a good game. So
you thinking? I'm sorry. Say you said 21-23,
23-21 Chiefs. 2-point win.
Okay. All right. Any predictions on who's going to score any of those points? Bucker's probably going to score 1 or 2.
I mean, Travis Kelce's getting a touchdown if he comes back and plays. You know that's going to happen.
Are we thinking he's playing this week? Right? Like, I feel like he's playing this week. I haven't heard any news contrary, right? So, like, yeah.
Yeah, and he got hurt. He didn't play this week. So he got hurt Tuesday last week. So Tuesday to Tuesday is a week, and then, well, Tuesday to Monday is a week. Then so you're going to get a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, that dude's almost 2 full weeks. Recovery time, right?
Yeah.
Got a good 12 days in there. So, yeah, I think he
needs a tricky joint, though.
Yeah, John, I did see the Nike, the KC, the Pegasus. It looked all right. It looked good.
Oh, shit. I did not see this. I have to check
yeah,
this
it
out
looks all right. Looks all right. I don't know. I might get me some Patrick Mahomes, some Mahomeses, some Adidas before I go out and get the Chiefs Nike shoes. But
are they the black ones or the white ones?
They're like gray and red, I think.
Gray and red.
Yeah, if you Google 2023 Chiefs Nike Pegasus 100s or whatever they're called.
I don't know how Guy Fieri socks are like the first things popping up. All right, 20.
Yeah, they're like gray and red. There you go. John V is telling you KC Pegasus 40. I mean, they looked all right. I just don't know if they looked good enough to drop $110 on. That's all. I mean, I'll drop $110 per pair of shoes, but I was kind of on the fence about them. That's a lot of money to spend on a shoe that I'm on the fence about. But
all right, sorry, hold on a second.
No, you're good. You're good.
Present, share screen. Where is this? These them? Are these them right here? Is that gray?
Yep.
Is that not them?
That's them.
That looks black. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, gray's light black, isn't it? I mean,
gray is black with white in it.
Light black is what I like to call gray.
I don't know that. I don't know about the low top style. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm liking the Joe Burrow crying, laying on the ground video that's going on in the bottom right-hand corner of that window, though.
How do I not? There we go. Stop screen.
Shocker. Lainey doesn't like him. She's hating on him. So no surprise there, though.
I'm not the biggest fan, dude. I don't know where those
they look okay. They don't look. I mean, they look better than a lot of these really flashy, gaudy ass looking Chiefs shoes that they've had in the past. So they don't look too bad. But
yeah, you could probably rock them a little bit more discreetly
football,
than the red ones.
We could do.
How'd you do this week?
Fantasy here, Fantasy Land segment we're trying to do every week. Anybody in the chat's got a start sit question for their fantasy football team, or Bo, if you got a sneaky pick here. I'm trying. Well, I picked him in my drafts, so I've already got him on my teams. But George Pickens in Pittsburgh. Deontay Johnson got a hamstring injury. George Pickens could be a guy that you could probably trade like a mid or low RB2 for. He's a guy, wide receiver, so like a PPR league, that I think Kenny Pickett is going to be peppering with targets with Deontay Johnson being out. Pickens is a guy that he's a freak athlete, big, tall dude, long arms, can high point. He's still got some speed for a big guy. Yeah, I think if you got George Pickens, you play him this way. I sat him last week because he played against the Steelers, he played against the 49ers defense. I was staying away from all Steelers pass catchers in week one. But Pat Freiermuth, their tight end, maybe he's hurt. So Kenny Pickett could be looking to George Pickens early and often this week.
I mean,
he's a guy that I would go out and try to trade for if you can, if you're thin at wide receiver. He's not a guy that you're going to have to give up a whole lot for because he's not one of these big-name wide receivers like a Justin Jefferson or one of these guys that's going to take 2 or 3 guys you're going to have to give up to get him in return. So that's a guy I'm keeping my eye on. Bo?
That dude, I mean, for as far as obscurity, your league goes deep, right? So like
one of them does.
Like I feel like for like you, like a Hunter Henry on tight ends, probably like you're like, yeah, somebody already has that guy, right? Like,
I'm not sure if Hunter Henry's on a team. Mike Gesicki's off. I know that, but
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know, man. I don't have any like random good time picks. I wish I could say I knew what I was talking about with fantasy, but it just seems so luck of the draw. So my league's
a
so
lot
different,
of it is
right?
luck, but you can try to put yourself in good position and look. And
it's just
volume, dude. Volume is the key to fantasy football. You got to get receivers that get a lot of targets, and running backs that get a lot of passes and get a lot of carries. That's the key.
Bro, I have in one league, I have Jalen Waddle, I have AJ Brown, and Jamar Chase, right? You would think that's pretty solid wide receiving core. They got me 10 points this week, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
1 week though, man.
I know, but like that's what I'm saying.
Don't be hitting the panic button after 1 week. That's a solid lineup.
Not dropping them, but I'm just saying, like, as far as like fantasy goes, like I feel like that's who you would want.
I'm gonna flex, dude. I'm gonna flex on my dynasty league with your brother Derek. I had Tyreek Hill and the Cowboys defense. That was like 90 points between those two guys.
You would have beat me with those two positions this week, right? Like just those two guys getting 30, 40 points, or those two positions getting 30, 40 points each.
Yeah.
Dude,
Tyreek Hill had 45 and a half, and the Cowboys defense had 43 and a half. They almost tied Tyreek Hill, who had 200 plus yards and 2 touchdowns against the Chargers, like 10 or 11 catches. Absolute freak show.
I have Philly's defense. I have Philly's defense. They started out with 30-something points, like an interception, a fumble recovery, a block.
Mac Jones, though, in the second quarter, kind of started tearing that Eagles defense up a little bit.
I can't help but feel that like they just like started putting in secondary, get them game time, right? Like, dude, they crushed it, but that's fantasy. That's what I'm saying. Like,
never panic on a guy like an AJ Brown or a Jamar Chase or even a quarterback like a Joe Burrow or something in week 1. It's the weirdest week of the season. Guys always come out, and there's always a guy that comes out, starts hot, that cools off, that plays well, way over his level week 1. There's always guys that play way under their level. So don't panic. Right. But
since it's a Chiefs-centric podcast, what Chiefs receiver would you recommend somebody maybe picking up, right? Like MVS, like imagine nobody has one. Imagine nobody has a receiver on the Chiefs. I mean, Kelsey's gone. Kelsey's out of the way. He's a tight end. Who would you say Chiefs gonna light it up this week?
Man, if I had to roster a Chiefs wide receiver right now, probably MVS, just because he's gonna start and he's gonna be the supposed deep threat for Patrick Mahomes. So he's the guy I would roster. Maybe Rashee Rice. He scored a touchdown week 1. But, dude, the dropsies worry me with Rice a little bit. I mean, he's had one every game.
That's who I picked up, MVS.
There you go. All right. That's not
He's
bad.
on my bench, but hey,
that's not bad.
I'm with you on that one.
That's not bad. He's going to be a boomer bust guy if you can afford that. I mean, it's always good to have one of those guys if you just can't be soft in other spots, that's all. You can't have a lot of boomer bust guys. You got to have a good squad of solid, consistent week-to-week guys that are going to get you a good 60, 70, 80 yards a week, throw in a touchdown or 2 here and there, and then a boomer bust guy that's going to put you over the top.
All right, so what of the running back positions, who do you think had that kind of week where you're just like, don't panic on this running back position quite yet?
Saquon Barkley had a quiet week 1 because – they got so far behind.
Quiet week 1.
They got so far behind that Cowboys defense was just destroying the Giants line. It was Daniel Jones, he was snapping the ball and getting tackled as he was pulling away from the center on a couple of those plays. Man, he got fucking destroyed.
It was like his first look wasn't there and he just tucked. He's just like, oh nope, no, should have getting tackled.
I tell you, a running back too, you should be trying to go out and get, especially after the way the Saints offense looked with Derek Carr, is Alvin Kamara is a guy you could probably trade for. He's going to be back here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say he's suspended right now though.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to get him cheap because he's going to be missing a couple games. I think he's going to look good. I think he's going to be back with Derek Carr when he gets back here in a couple weeks. That passing game with him, that was missing.
That's one of those guys though. Sorry, that's one of those guys though that I don't feel like he's open. I feel like somebody knew. No, everybody knows who he is, obviously, but I feel like if you're into fantasy, you probably drafted him. Even if you're not into fantasy, you're like that name. You probably draft him knowing that he's
suspended. Yeah, but he had his worst year last year, and he's suspended to start this year. So my point is, you can get him for cheaper than you probably could. And I think he's gonna be back to old Alvin Kamara with this offense and with Derek Carr. Not that Derek Carr is some world beater or all-time great quarterback, but
they pulled out that win, right? They actually won that game.
Yeah, they did. They beat Tennessee.
I left when it was fairly close still. I had to leave to go to a barbecue, but dude, I wasn't too impressed with him. He seemed like old Derek Carr, get scared kind of Derek Carr.
So that's my tips for you.
Hey, good for them though.
Those are my tips. Go out and get George. Go out and try and get George Pickens and Alvin Kamara if you don't have them on your team already. And if you got sit advice you need help with, you're not sure, you're on the fence on who you should play and who you should not play, hit us up on the Chiefs Kingdom Live X account, and I'll try to get to those before the start of the games here Thursday night. Football starts tomorrow and then Sunday. So I think I'm going to get up out of here and get something to eat.
Yep, it's dinner time.
Get some stuff going. Appreciate everybody joining in. Chiefs on the road against Jacksonville Sunday. It's going to be a good game. I'm expecting a good, tight, close game. I think the Chiefs get it done. I do think they bounce back week 2. I don't see them starting 0-2. Get Chris Jones back on defense. Get Travis Kelce going here a little bit.
Should be a different team.
Right. I mean, the drops are going to get better. It's just a matter of how much better can they get. I mean, that's kind of my whole thing. They're not going to be this bad all year.
Can they get worse? I mean, I guess they could get worse. Every single one could go for it.
They couldn't get worse. They could drop every pass, I guess. But I don't think it's going to get any worse. So
right.
Appreciate everybody for stopping by. If you haven't already, click like and click subscribe. Do that for us. It's right down there. Help spread the word. We got a giveaway. If you go watch the short on our channel here, when we get to 500 subs, we're getting there 1 or 2 at a time here. Would love to get that giveaway going, hook some people up with some free Chiefs swag.
Really cool prizes. If you haven't seen, like Scott said, go check out the short. We have some jerseys, some KC rubs, some Super Bowl gear, some AFC championship gear. Lots of cool stuff to choose from. So tell a friend, tell a family member. We're trying to get to that 500 mark. It's pretty close. Yeah. We appreciate all the support on the channel. Good to see all of our friends in the chat. Laney, Big Doug, Chris, Carol, John V. If I missed you, I'm sorry. I don't watch the chat as close as these other guys, but help spread the word. We sure appreciate everybody watching. And Chiefs play the Jacksonville Jaguars here Sunday in Jacksonville, Florida. Let's go, Chiefs. Let's go, Chiefs. Till next week.
This is Patrick!